Hello and welcome to UT3 Session 1 Part 2 of the user interface. I guess I'll start out with when you first open the Unreal Editor, right off the bat you start off in camera mode. And camera mode allows you to look around the world, as I explained the controls to how to move this in the last session. The other mode here is geometry mode. And in geometry mode, it allows you to manipulate points on geometrical items. If I select the points here by holding Control and Alt on my keyboard, holding Control and Alt on my keyboard allows me to draw bounding boxes, drawing boxes, or marquee select boxes, which allows me to select whatever points are inside this box that I draw become selected. And then using the translation tool, I can manipulate these points to whatever I feel I want to do with them. If I click the generic browser on top of here, and then quickly select a texture, I can apply textures by clicking the surface I want to apply this texture to and then clicking the texture. I can move and scale and rotate textures by selecting the texture alignment mode. And in this mode, I can align the texture on the Y and X axis. If I hit the space bar, I can change it to rotation and I can rotate textures. And if I hit the space bar again, I can scale these textures to however I want them to be. And that way I can change textures and adjust them to however I'm creating my levels. This is the brush tool, and every time I click these tools here, the brush takes on the form of that shape. I can adjust the parameter of these shapes by right-clicking any one of these tools, and a properties window will come up, and I can input the numerical values that I want. And once I'm satisfied with what I want, I can hit the build button, and those parameter changes will take place. It's also important to note that when you're fooling around with these options up here, to always go back to camera mode so as not to get confused with what you're working with, because if you don't have camera mode enabled, you can't move your camera anymore. So it's always good to put that back on. This is your subtract and your add. So when you want to add matter to your world, if I decrease the size of this box, if I click the add button, I create matter, fill it in. Or if I hit the subtract button, I take away matter. These are intersections and de-intersections, and basically it makes the brush tool take the form of what I'm trying to de-intersect or intersect. And I guess a good example of explaining of what this does is, say for instance, I have this solid cube and I want to take a little chunk out of it, like this. Take a 25% of the cube away. If I hit the intersect button, you'll see that the brush takes the form of the piece I'm wanting to remove. And then if I hit the subtract button, it takes away the part of the cube that the brush has taken the form of. And this pretty much does the exact opposite. Over here below is the special brush, which you're never really going to use, so I wouldn't use it. And the volume brush. And the volume brush is actually one of the most important things you can use because it determines certain properties that take place within that volume. Say for instance, if you wanted to swim underwater or float around in space with zero gravity, or trudge through thick slime, or maybe you're creating lava or some sort of acid pool, or even if you just make an invisible barrier that if you walk into it, it just kills you. There's a bunch of different options here that you can put. So I urge experimenting with them and seeing what they do, and fooling around with that. These options are just to show or hide objects. For example, if I create this object here, so over here I have this object. If I click this button, it hides my 3D objects, and if I click this button, it shows all my 3D objects. And this just does vice versa. So if I have something hidden, it'll show the hidden objects and it will hide the shown objects. So yeah, and this is just to show the selected actors that you have hidden. And that pretty much covers the entire user interface. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in session 2.